And if you need to hear this, please receive it, because I know parents can be really tough on themselves.
We learn a lot about ourselves as parents because we're doing this all for the first time. Some of the things that we're proud of, some of the things that we're not so proud of, and I think also too, surprising ourselves of like, wow, I really did that well.
And I think that's the big reflection. It's the saying, okay, we're gonna be parents, as I said, for those 18 years, and then they're gonna try to get rid of us. But we're all children of God, and we need to understand the way God loves us and how, as being a parent, made us reflect on that.
How cool is it that parenthood, like we get to be the front row seat to the miracles and experiences that our kids are going to encounter. And miracles happen every single day. We just have to look for them.
The first thing I want to say is you are doing better than you think. I'm just saying, you're really doing much better than you think you're doing.
Your blended family has a 100% chance of success when you do it God's way. We are Blended Kingdom Families, and we want to provide biblical resources to heal and restore families with a message of hope for the next generation.
Hey guys, welcome back to the BKF podcast. We are excited to be with you today.
Yes.
We're going to talk about gift of parenthood.
Of parenthood.
The gifts of parenthood.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gifts, right?
Yes. And sometimes like you are in the hood of parenthood.
Think about all the stages of parenthood that you go through. I saw some video the other day, and this guy was holding this little baby, and it was a cute little baby, and then all of a sudden the baby just like projectile vomited the milk.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember that.
Yeah.
Or I remember like picking them up, and you'd get that surprise of the explosion, and you're like,
oh yeah.
Those are gifts.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe.
Or the toddlerhood when they're just screaming.
Yes.
So, the gift of parenthood. It's a refining process.
It is a refining process. And, I think every stage teaches us something about not only like our kids and who God is creating them to be and developing them into, but it's also, we learn a lot about ourselves as parents because we're doing this all for the first time. And, some of the things that we're proud of, some of the things that we're not so proud of. And I think also too, surprising ourselves of like, wow, I really did that well. And wow, like I really just stunk at that. And, those are all opportunities for growth. They're opportunities to show and ask for forgiveness. And, I think it's all a gift, right? Because I think if we look at anything, God doesn't waste anything. And so why would we? Why would we look at something and say, gosh, that was so awful. That was so horrible. And yes, there are those things that happen to us that we wish that wouldn't, and that have caused, turmoil in our lives, or things that affected us emotionally or mentally. And in that we can lean into that. We can lean into the hard. And we can also choose to make meaning out of those things and situations.
Well, being a parent it's obviously a very beautiful experience, and you get to watch things occur. And I think as your kids kind of get into those toddler years, and ours are in the elementary years right now, and getting to watch them experience their gifts, their talents, getting them to experience the world for the first time, watching them gain a little bit of independence, I think is always a little terrifying, but also very rewarding. But getting glimpses of God's heart as a father through your own love for your kids, and just understanding that that's the way God sees you, and the way that you love your children is the way He loves you. I think sometimes we don't quite equate that together. We don't know how to put that in a balance where we really understand that that's the way God looks at us. When we look at our kids, when we look at them as babies, or as they're excelling in their younger years, or even now as we have adult children who are excelling, that's the way God looks at us. And that's the way He looks at us the whole way through our life. And it's such a blessing to experience that.
Yeah. And, I think that some of the best things about being a parent, I mean, there's so many amazing things about being a parent. I think one of the things that has just like captured my heart, especially with raising boys. And I think there's something really special about that. All children are special, whether they're boys or girls. But I think being a boy mom, I've felt that there's such, not only is there an entrustment, but it's the creating and developing these young men and future leaders and godly men, which is our world needs so much of. But it's watching them form their own relationship with God and form their own view and perspective of the Lord, and then speak about who He is and how they see that in their own lives. You know, I thought it was really sweet the other day. Grayson, our middle kiddo, and he's probably our more analytical, reserved. He's very quiet, more introverted, but he's also very strong. He's very tenacious and likes to do things himself, very independent. But I remember he asked me, and it just caught me off guard. He goes, "Mom," he goes, "am I going to marry a Christian girl one day?" And I just thought it was so sweet that he was like, she's got to be a Christian. And I said, well, buddy, I said, that is my hope and prayer. And that, that wherever your future wife is right now, that she is learning about Jesus, that she hopefully one day has a personal relationship with Him, and that she's also praying for you. And it was just a really sweet conversation, but I loved that his mind was already going there. And that was just something that he thought about. And I just, it makes me think about his prayers and maybe his conversations with Jesus, and, how the Holy Spirit just like brought that to mind for him. And it was just a really cool talk, especially when you have a son and you're a mom and getting to speak into that. And then I asked him, I said, well, is there a girl that you have a crush on, or you like? And he mentioned this one girl, and he was like, and she goes to church and she loves Jesus. And I was like, well, that is awesome, buddy. And she's in sports too. I think she does volleyball. So anyways, I say all that to say that for me has been such a gift. And I think one of the best things about being a boy mom and a parent.
Well, it's definitely a moment where you kind of sit back and you're like, wow, this is what it's all about. And you look at the journey as a parent and you're like, okay, in their eyes, it's kind of like there's a start and then there's an end. It's kind of like, okay, you're going to be my parent until I don't need you anymore. And then you're kind of like, well, I'm your parent all the time.
Yeah.
But you really don't need me anymore. So there is a process and a time frame where you really have to sit back and go, okay, is this what it's all about? Where are those moments? Where are those beautiful moments where you can just silently reflect, or you're getting that good hug, or that maybe that word of encouragement from your teenage child, where you can kind of sit back and go, okay, all that was worth it. All that was worth it. All that is good and well. Yeah. And it is good, but it also, how has being a parent changed the way you understand God's love? And I think that's the big reflection. It's the saying, okay, we're going to be parents, as I said, for those 18 years, and then they're going to try to get rid of us. But we're all children of God, and we need to understand the way God loves us, and how has being a parent made us reflect on that?
Yeah, I think that being a parent, it's to me, it's unconditional love. I mean, we have gone through the fire with our adult son, and where he is at today, I mean, you want to talk about God's redemption and restoration. Like, I'm so grateful and thankful, and He has used every part of that. And I think He's going to continue to use His story and our story for His glory. But I think it's unconditional, because I think about the way that I feel about Michael, and I mean, in all of our boys, but if we're relating it to him, I think about how I feel about him and everything that we've walked through with him, and the sacrifice and the joys, and also the hurts and the struggles. And I think about, man, like, if I feel that about my son, like, how does our Father feel that about him or me? And that His love for me is unconditional, and that, sure, I'm going to fall short. We're all going to fall short of the glory of God. We're sinners, and for me, it's just that unconditional love. It's the unconditional grace that He gives us, and just His mercy that extends. His mercies are new every morning, and so that's what it is for me, and what makes me think of.
Well, and I'm sure you're kind of considering, like, man, parent. You get those multiple feelings, like, this is incredible and this is incredibly hard. And so the hardest parts about being a parent, we're going to talk about a few of them, but the one that I think that I struggle with is wanting control but needing to surrender. And I think about, again, our kids are, with Michael, he's kind of on his own, he's an adult, but with the littles, they're in that mode where they want freedom.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about Grayson. We talk about Grayson a lot here because he is the kid who tends to kind of do a lot of things that we're like, whoa. But he got a new, one of those little scooter things. Not scooters. They're like those
It's like
things.
a hoverboard
Like
scooter.
a hoverboard. Anyway, this thing is not the scooter of my childhood. This thing goes like 30 miles an hour. It is a machine. But I watched him. We were driving down the road, and he's on it, got his helmet on. He's going, 25 miles an hour.
I don't think it's that fast.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point of it is I look at it and go, oh my gosh, no. And then I'm thinking, he's got to learn how to be on his, in his own independent self. And if he falls, he's got to learn how to take that and get up, which he did, by the way. Nice fell, so wanting control but needing to surrender.
Yes, and that's so hard. It's I think realizing that our children are the Lord's first, and that He's entrusting us with them, and that He loves them so much more than we could even begin to comprehend or imagine. I mean, our minds are so finite in our thinking and our just capacity compared to the Lord's, and so that I think just brings me comfort and just knowing that. But I think it's also too watching, you can watch your child struggle and realize that we can't always fix it. And that's where we have to rely on the Lord's strength and not our own.
Well, I would also challenge you to understand, and this is the part where you don't self-reflect, you just outwardly reflect. So if you watch your child struggle and you're really frustrated and you can't fix it and you're like, but you're going to try. You're going to try everything you can. But what you're failing to realize is God's molding him into the person they are going to be. And we wouldn't be who we are if somebody fixed every one of our problems.
Absolutely.
We had to struggle through that. So a lot of times it's going, hey, I can't fix that. I'm going to surrender control of that and understand that God's writing his or her story so that they can live out in their full abundance. And I think that's when you get a little bit of guilt and comparison, like you're not doing enough. But in the end, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
Well, there's a little quote that says, you let them go as they grow. Little by little, we give them that independence and we give them the room, so to speak, to start making those decisions and choices. And obviously, this comes with discernment, you guys. And for example, cell phones, we have a really hard rule and we've put boundaries about when our kids will get phones and how those will be used and not anytime soon. But, our kids are going to have to make choices of what they're going to do with those phones and how they're going to use them. Do they use that for good or for bad? And, and all of that, we hope and we trust that, we want to protect them as long as we can, but we also know that the Lord is working on their behalf as well. And that is far greater than anything we could do in the physical. Just trusting that as they grow, they're going to start making decisions. And as we let them and give them that independence, we can also watch the Lord take that and use it for something just so good and so great.
Well, and I think that, again, we're the hardest on ourselves as parents.
Yep.
We're always self-reflecting. Did we do enough? Did we do too much? Did I say this the right way? Did I not say it the right way? You're not going to do it perfect. And I don't know if there is a perfect. But I want to just kind of say this and say, God's patience, love, discipline, and forgiveness are all mirrored in your parenting. So you're demonstrating all of these things in different capacities to your kids, and you're teaching them. Remember that their first teacher is you. Just like the concept of weighing discipline over grace. I'm reminded of a story that somebody told me that it was a guy telling me the first time he understood grace is when he really messed up and his dad really should have punished him. And all of a sudden he showed grace. And all of a sudden he started to understand what God's grace was. Because that is their authority figure growing up, just in the same way ours is God. that's where they see that. Until they develop their own personal relationship, you are that authority figure. So mirroring grace and just understanding that as a parent, you're reflecting God's heart. You're reflecting God's love. You're doing all these things. You may not do it perfect, but you are doing enough. You are doing absolutely your best.
Yeah. I reminded of Proverbs 22:6. It says, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, will not turn from it. And I think this is just a good reflection that it's not a formula, it's a faith journey, and it's a process. And how cool is it that parenthood, like we get to be the front row seat to the miracles and experiences that our kids are going to encounter. And miracles happen every single day. We just have to look for them. And, I think that is such, what a, gift from the Lord that is. And I don't know. I just think that's awesome.
Well, and I will say just to kind of throw this in, please understand that we're talking about parenting. We include co-parenting in this. Whether you are a biological parent or a co-parent, you get the same get the same seat. You get the same concepts and you get to have the same influence. And so you are an absolute critical person in that child's development. So we're going to end by doing some encouragements. So, and if you need to hear this, please receive it. Because I know parents can be really tough on themselves. So the first thing I want to say is you are doing better than you think. I'm just saying, you're really doing much better than you think you're doing. Your kids love you. They appreciate you. You're trying. You're doing better than you think.
Well, and they may not say it, but I think of think of yourself and how you view your parents or those motherly and fatherly figures that made a big impact in your life. Think about the spiritual mothers and fathers you may have had, those people that really made a positive impact in your life, and how that has transformed you. And so even though your kids or bonus kids may not outwardly say it or show it, maybe you get more eye rolls and huffs and puffs than anything, when we're walking in the Lord's obedience with our parenting, whether it's parenting or co-parenting, God is going to honor that. And so while they may not say it, we can know and understand that God is pleased with us. I think also understanding that God chose you on purpose for a purpose for your kids, and that He placed you in their lives, they in your lives, for a reason. And that is special and it is unique. He doesn't make copycats. There is nobody else that can minister to, teach, love on, and nurture your kids the way that you can. And you were specifically chosen for them, given all of their unique gifts and talents and abilities and quirks and perks. God said, hey, Grayson needs a Scott and Grayson needs a Vanessa. And that is so cool, you guys.
Well, I love that. And I'm going to give you one more is perfection isn't the goal, presence is. So let me clarify what I mean when I say perfection. Perfection isn't I give them everything that they possibly want. We have all the money in the world. They don't want for anything, meaning they get all the big benefits. We go on the big vacations. They're never in a situation where they're comparing. They're falling into that comparison trap. That's where I think human parents go to perfection. And I want to just give you grace in that and saying that is not the goal. Your presence is. And I will give you the best example I can come up with is, my boys love a lot of things. And I say things. But what they love the most is just when I'm there, is when I'm throwing the football with them. They will eat that up more than anything. And it's just my presence. It has nothing to do with what I can give them.
Agree.
I just think it's so important because I think we're so hard on ourselves as parents.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to encourage you guys with is every moment, good or bad, is shaping something eternal. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And I'm just even thinking about our own personal lives and how we're literally living that out right now. And you guys, birth through 18 that's the hood of parenthood sometimes. Like, parenthood is amazing, and sometimes you feel like you're like in the hood. And but do not give up. Everything that you are doing is sowing something into those kids, and there will be seasons of being in the valley, but like it says in the book of Psalms, it says we walk through the valley of Vaca, we don't stay in it. And so, God will bring us through that and we will reap a harvest. Continue to do good, continue to sow, and know that everything that you're doing has an internal reward, whether we see it our side or we don't. So I hope that encourages you.
Well, the gift of parenthood is incredible, and God gave us that, and He sees us, and He sees the blessings, He sees the struggles, but He also sees the reward on the back end. So we want to just encourage you, if you're struggling in that area, man, we would love to pray with you. Send us a message. We'll pray over you, pray over your family. Until then, you guys have a wonderful day, and we cannot wait to see you again.
Be blessed in all that you do.
Hey friends, so glad you were here with us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can find more resources from Blended Kingdom Families at blendedkingdomfamilies.com. Join us again next time as we talk about more blended family topics. Be blessed in all that you do, and remember, nothing will be impossible with God.